Hey, I'm Ron Drotos, and welcome to our Journey Through the Real Book number 192. This is Duke Ellington's famous, "It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing." And this whole series of jazz piano lessons is to get us to look at these standards not just as notes on the page, right, or even tunes that we know, but really understanding them, both historically, what's been done with them before, what's possible, and how to approach them ourselves in an individual way. So this is jazz, right? What I just said sort of sums up the approach to jazz that everybody's had. And you know, a lot of times we'll listen to somebody like Duke Ellington or Charlie Parker or Chick Corea or somebody, and you know, we think, okay, they're up there and we're down here and we'll never get up there. And it's not really about that, you know? It's about, we're trying this, we're playing these tunes. And if we're really playing it, we know the basic chords, the melody, and we're starting to make it our own and play it in a personal way, we're doing the same thing they're doing. That's what Chick Corea did, right? He made it his own. It's not necessarily about playing it like you have some image of how somebody else played it, and they're great and I'm not. You know, because you could take Art Tatum for an example, right? The great Art Tatum. Every single jazz pianist ever, including Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, Keith Jarrett, Bud Powell, had to face the fact that they could not play as fast and with constant creativity in the same way that Art Tatum did. Everybody has to face that. When Oscar Peterson heard Art Tatum for the first time, he says he stopped playing piano for like 3 weeks because he couldn't deal with it, right? So everybody has had to go through what you and I go through. That's a huge thing to realize and to accept and to embrace and thrive with. That's really the key to our individuality. So, getting back to this tune, "It Don't Mean a Thing," 1932. If Duke Ellington's career had ended in 1939, say, because he started in the 20s, he went from the 20s to the 70s, right? 50 years. So, if his career had ended in 1939, before Satin Doll, before Take the A Train, Billy Strayhorn brought to him, which became his theme song, before all the huge hits, those huge hits, he would have still done so much more than most other jazz musicians, and "Don't Mean a Thing" would have been one of those. Check out tunes like, Mood Indigo is also another big one from the early years, but Creole Love Call, The Mooch, Shout 'em Aunt Tilly, you know, wonderful things that most people don't listen to anymore, and they're incredible. Whole repertoire, sort of forgotten Duke Ellington. But this is one of the early hits. And yeah, it's AABA, standard 32-bar song form from that era. And it kind of starts in G minor and ends in B flat major, right? It's G minor with this descending bass line, and then it starts moving to B flat. Then it goes back to G minor. G minor and B flat are relative minor and major. And a lot of tunes do this. My Funny Valentine starts on the relative minor, the section ends with, the A section ends on the relative major. Autumn Leaves, similar kind of thing. Starts in whatever key you're in. G major, oh, it's the opposite. It starts in the major, 2, 5, 1 in the major, and then it ends in the relative minor. So you get this interplay sometimes between related keys, especially relative major and relative minor. So, you know, if you're doing this tune with a vocalist and they come up and they say, "Oh, let's do It Don't Mean a Thing in C." Well, you should ask, do you mean it begins on C minor or it ends on C major? Because if it ends on C major, you have to start on A minor, the relative minor. It's a wide open tune, and it celebrates the swing, right? This is right at the beginning of the swing era of music too. So swing was a big word back then. You know, it was the new thing. In the jazz age of the 1920s, from the New Orleans tradition or early New York, swing music was still sort of coming into the into common practice. Sometimes on the early jazz records, some players are swinging more than others, and a little more straight eighth notes, which is wonderful too. I love that cross-pollination of styles. But by 1932, the swing feel was firmly established, and this is when American pop music was very similar to jazz. So a tune like this would have been considered a pop tune at the time, meaning popular a tune, just like In the Mood would have a few years later. And the bridge is just these 2-2-5-1s, a 2-5-1 in E flat, then a 2-5-1 in F. Then it goes right back to the G minor. I basically follow the chords from this sheet. Sometimes at the first ending, let's see, I'll do in bar 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll do the C7, but then I'll go to C sharp 7 in the next measure, C sharp diminished 7, and then B flat over D in the bass, and then just make it the D7. So from the beginning, now C7, C sharp diminished, B flat over D, D7. I'll do that sometime. I don't know, maybe I played an arrangement like that when I was in college and I just liked it. So, and you can, experiment with different things. What I'm going to do, since there's so many approaches to a tune like this, you could play it stride, you could play it with walking bass, you could comp in the left hand, or even eras of jazz. You're going to play it modern, whatever that means, or bebop, or swing, or ragtime, however. Sometimes I like to start with something that's a little more personal, just get into my own groove, and then start playing the tune. And it's a way to sort of put our own stamp on a tune right from the beginning. So I'm going to start with the G pedal tone in my left hand, and I'm going to play along with this rhythm, da 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 da. That's at the end of the A section, so like a. And then just see what happens. I don't know, I could use the G blues scale, I could use G minor, I could go a little out with it. Sort of sidestepping. I went up to F sharp, went down to F sharp that time a little. And then back down, something like Herbie Hancock would do. You can get into some block chords. Big band style block chords. The sky's the limit, but I'm going to put all that out of my mind for a second and just get into this da-da-da-da-da and play around with that rhythm and see where that leads me, right? It's you learn everything you can on how to play a tune, and then you sort of use that in a free way. And I find that if I try to predict what I'm going to do or plan it out, it usually doesn't come out as well. So let's see how this goes. that was a lot of fun. And it went to places I didn't expect, definitely. I brought in some walking tenths on the left hand on the bridge, some bebop-ish. I don't know, it's a wide open tune. And like I said before, I think I said, that if we plan it out, or if I plan it out, sometimes it usually doesn't come out as good. Just learn everything, and just like in conversation, you respond to what's happening in that moment and let it come through us rather than trying to direct it all the time. At the end though, I extended it. Just extended that rhythm. And what I like to do is sometimes go around the circle of fourths. So you go up on dominant 7th chord. So like from B flat to E flat to A flat to D flat. And then at some point when you're close to the original key, you just go back to it somehow. And whoop, okay, where's it going? You know, Keith Jarrett's talked about that when he's playing solo piano concerts, sort of getting into these harmonic progressions when you're improvising. And where's it going? Oh, I don't know, but this is kind of fun. Let me see where it goes. And that's part of it too. I used to shy away from that when I was younger because I wanted it to be perfect every time. And if it wasn't going to be perfect, sometimes I didn't take that chance. And I wish I had gotten past that about 20 years earlier. I probably would have had a lot more fun along the way too in those moments. So good luck with this tune. Next week we'll be on It's Easy to Remember. Speaking of Jarrett, a great recording. He did some great recordings of It's Easy to Remember, great ballad. Duke Ellington, listen to his piano playing. Still an underappreciated and underrated pianist. Listen to albums like The Pianist or Piano Reflections, or just what he's doing on piano, like playing the intros to tunes. It's wild, very ahead of his time, so to speak, very broad in his stylistic range, and a big influence on people like Thelonious Monk and Randy Weston. So definitely worth checking out. Sort of a parallel stream to the bebop that most people take. But you can start with Duke Ellington. You don't have to start where everybody else starts, or at least let that come into your playing somehow. Thanks for being here. Let me know how I can help you with your playing in any way. I'm teaching on Zoom, Skype, one-on-one, help you get to that next level and share some of what I've learned over the years and guide you step by step. Or my video course at keyboardimprov.com. You can take that, and there's lots in there, over 350 lessons for you. So thanks again. Good luck with your playing, and take care.